Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for coming tonight. This is the third annual TTAC Charity Awards Gala that we've had here in Nashville. We had a couple before in Texas, but this is 3 in a row here in Nashville, so thank you so much for coming.
Yeah, thank you, everyone, for making it, for our special TTAC team, our leaders, our partner, John and Terry Ann and Joni and everybody. Everyone in this room are very special to what we do, getting the truth, the life-saving truth into the world. So if you're here, it's because you're doing something amazing, and we thank you, each one.
Yeah, and I didn't realize that there's a picture of us up behind there. I just actually stopped the video because it was making noise, and I wanted to be able to talk. But anyway, it's like looking and seeing in stereo or something.
That was like our first event, our live. Remember, John, our first event we were on stage, and then the big picture behind us.
So for those of you that were at the live event in Dallas last year, the Ultimate Live Symposium, we had that big screen behind the speaker, so it was like a repeat. So it was like that infinity repeat that we did not do this year in Orlando, which was good.
Yeah, it was much better. It was good the first year, but
it was good the first year, but this year was better in Orlando. But thank you so much for being here.
Yeah.
What we wanted to do is this is the biggest gathering of our TTAC staff that we've ever had. And so what we want to do is just kind of go and just recognize the people that are here with our company really quickly, and just to give them recognition. Thank you for working for us and being part of this mission that we're on. I don't know everyone, and neither does Charlene, so Terry Ann, get you to kind of point out people that we don't know their names.
And before Terry Ann starts, I have to brag on Terry Ann, just to extend what Ty said. Terry Ann, being the Chief Executive Officer of our companies, she works tirelessly night and day. Jonathan, of course, was the one that found her. A lot of our amazing team, Jonathan has put together. He's got these amazing connections. I don't know where he finds everything, but he finds diamonds that are hidden. And Terry Ann is one of the greatest. And she works really hard and passionate, and she's doing this for all the right reasons. And Terry Ann, we're really proud of you, and we're grateful for you.
And real quick, I have to say this. So we call her the chief, because she's the chief executive officer, but she pretty much is the chief of everything with the company. But now, recently, I've been started to call her the chef. And so, you want to know why? Ask me why. The reason is because there is no I in chief. So she's the chef. Get it? Whatever. All right. So Terry Ann, if you could kind of recognize the team that's here.
Is this on? Yeah, and these people so deserve the recognition. Before we go to the team, I like to brag on some of my favorite people in the whole world. So to Ty, Charlene, and John, and I know many of you have heard this from me before, but you won't find better people anywhere in the world. Ty and Charlene and John work tirelessly for what they do, and they're the reason that all of us are here tonight. This is our third year having the gala here with all of us. I know you've done it far beyond that, but with TTAC as a company, and we feel so blessed as a team to have these three leading the companies and leading this mission. So let's give a round of applause to Ty, Charlene, and Jonathan. All right, so we are going to recognize everyone on our team that's here because they don't get enough recognition, and they don't all get to come to the live event and all the things that we do. I'm only going to do first names, although I do know all of your last names, so don't even question it for 1 second. So in the back, we have Ben, who is our Director of Technology. Please stand up. We have, awesome. And I'm going to ask that you hold your round of applause till I get through everyone, because we have an awesome group here. And we have Joe back here, who is our Manager of Stats and Reporting. Anita, I'm not going to do last names as I go into that last names. Told you I knew your last name. Anita, who is our Marketing Manager back there. Anita, please stand up. I can't see everyone. Cindy, who is our Content Manager. Kim, who is our Creative Director. Nick, who is also a Marketing Director. Who am I missing here? Belinda, who's also a Marketing Director right now. Celeste, who's our Project Manager. Who else are we missing here? Caroline, our HR Director. Ron, who is our COO. We also have Daniel, who is our CTO. Jamie, who is our Affiliate Manager. Mark, who is our Affiliate Manager. We have Antoine up here, who is our Copywriter. Antoine, stand up. Petra, who is our CFO. Joni, who is our executive coordinator, Morgan, who is our accounting manager, Gia, who is our social media manager, and Mitzi, who works on our social media team. Did I miss anyone? Kim, who is our creative director. I believe I got her. Where is Alan? Alan, who is on our film team. And where is Travis, who is on our film team as well. And have I missed anyone on our team? These people are the superheroes behind what our team does every day. They deserve the biggest round of applause. Thank you.
So, do you just want to mention we have another 60 people?
Give him the microphone.
And John just wanted me to mention really quickly, this is a very small portion of our team. We have another 60 to 70 people who work behind the scenes every day for what is the truth about cancer. When we started 3 years ago, there were just maybe 10 or 15 of us on the team, if even that. And we've grown in 3 years to having 70 to 100 people between contractors and vendors and employees who work for this team, which speaks to the truth of what we're doing. And we're so grateful to be doing it every day. So thank you to all of you for being here, and enjoy your night.
Yeah, thank you. And
Yeah, thank you, team.
Yeah,
Thank you, TTAC.
Kelly Gallagher, you here? Could you come here? Kelly was the lady that was so gracious to give Charlene and I an award, and she wasn't here earlier. So, John Hunsaker, could you come to the front, please?
Come on up, John. There he is.
Yes, John, please come up here. We had the Doctors Who Rock Awards, and you rock, and we got to give Ty and Charlene an award, and for just...
It's ours.
She's here.
We can do it again.
Of course.
Can we have a drum roll, please? Where were you? How come you didn't come? Drum roll. Okay. For shifting the paradigm worldwide and making the truth about cancer available to everybody, we totally appreciate you. I'm a 5-time cancer survivor, and I wish that this information had been easy to get back then, and now you've just made it more accessible, and we love you, and we thank you, and that's it.
Yay.
Sorry we were late, guys. We were snowed in Atlanta. Who knew? and Ty and Charlene, thank you so much for what you guys do. I mean, it's amazing. It's just remarkable.
Oh yeah, let's do that. We actually brought.
We'll get a picture with you, Kelly.
Awesome.
And our trophies, because we missed John down.
Can my partner Tim Wright come up here? Because without him and United Intentions, we wouldn't have been able to have.
Stage with a popsicle stick cut out of me when he
What and why?
did not take it on stage. And so now what we want to do is, over the last few years, we have been able to give Lifetime Achievement Awards to several people. As a matter of fact, many of them are in the room right now. And this year, we're only giving one Lifetime Achievement Award, and that is to G. Edward Griffin. He's right over here. So Ed, yeah.
Oh my gosh. I thought you were going to make all the other things first.
So yeah, I don't know if anybody in here who has read The Creature from Jekyll Island. Okay, several people have read The Creature from Jekyll Island. Ed has also written a book called World Without Cancer, and he's one of the luminaries that has probably woke. I'm not sure the verb tense, waked more people up as to kind of what's going on behind the scenes than maybe anybody else that I'm aware of. So we're really honored to be able to give Ed an award tonight. Before we do, I got a little slideshow here that we're going to play. So I hope you enjoyed some of those. A lot of those photos were taken a couple months ago in Orlando. Ed was gracious enough to come speak at our conference there. But the award is actually, what we called it was the Lifetime Achievement Award. Let me read this to make sure I get it right. G. Edward Griffin, the luminary leader in the Renaissance of truth and light. So, as I mentioned, probably Ed has been instrumental in waking more people up than maybe anybody that I'm aware of. And so, really excited to give him this award. John, I want you to come present the award to Ed.
And you know, as John's coming up here, I just want to add that as long as Ty and I and John have been doing what we're doing, and a lot of you out there, Edward has been doing this for so long. It's on his giant shoulders that we stand. And so many people are awake because of his great work. And it really is an honor. And we felt like we couldn't give another award this year because we are honored to have you here with us. We've wanted, since we started to have these events, have you here with us, and it just wasn't possible until now. And there's a lot of deserving people that deserve an award, but no one more deserving than you. Thank you for giving the world the truth.
So I'm gonna take this trophy for a second so Ed can speak to you. And I just told him, he asked what do we want to speak about, and I said it's a Lifetime Achievement Award. So just share a little bit about what you've done in your life, because he's had a very interesting life.
What a mistake that was. I don't get a chance to talk about my life very often, so you're in for it now. Now, first thing I want to tell you is I like puns. And with that as an introduction, I don't know whether you are aware of the fact that recently this beautiful couple here created a new board game, a health board game. And it goes something like this. You got the square, and the little men move around the square, and the cards flip over, and they ask questions. And if you answer the questions correctly, depending on the question, you can move your men around the board. And the first person that gets all of their men, the tokens moved around the board, wins. And they decided to use dimes instead of regular wooden tokens. And they're, of course, the winners. They got their dimes around first of all. So it is really true, in the introduction earlier, this is a pair of dime shifters. I won't tell you the other joke. What a pleasure this is. First of all, thank you, thank you, thank you. I cannot tell you how much I appreciate this great honor and the work that you do. Somebody should be giving you one about 3 times bigger than this for all the work that you've done. It just moves me deeper than you know to be the benefactor of this gift. Thank you. So, fortunately for everybody, I'm not supposed to give a speech tonight, so I won't. I said to Ty, do you want me to give a speech? He said, oh, no speeches. Just talk about your life. Wow, my life. And I'll keep this short because I could talk about my life, but it's not that interesting. But apparently a lot of people want to know how I got here and where did I start. So I sometimes wonder about that myself. I can only tell you that the journey that I took is not a lot different from the journey that probably everyone in this room has taken. And that is, we had no idea where we were headed when we started out. I had an idea that I was going in one direction, and I wound up going in another one, and I'm sure that's true of most people in this room. I'm here to tell you that sometimes running into bad luck or real opposition or having some bad events in your life, although they're a great hardship, at the time they turn out to be the best thing that ever happened to you. And so I'll give you a little brief overview, and you'll see that recurring at least once or twice in this story. I was born in Detroit. Beautiful town, beautiful Detroit. It was beautiful in those days. And I was raised on the west side near Livernois and 8 Mile. You don't want to go there today. That's where I was raised. I went to Redford High School, and I was raised by an old maid school teacher, aunt, and a grandmother. I came from a badly broken home, and I was rescued, literally. That was one of those bad events that happened in my life that turned out to be the best thing that ever happened. And my Aunt Alice, in particular, was like my father and my mother rolled into one. And she taught me a lot of lessons that I didn't really understand until much later. There again, there's a commonality, I'm sure, with most people. I didn't appreciate what a wonderful home I was put into. And it leads me to think that I don't know my three brothers and my sister because they were raised separately. I was the oldest of four. And I met them for the first time when one of my brothers died a few years ago. I was 10 years older than the next of my siblings, who was a girl, my sister, Patricia. And I hadn't met any of them until they were all adults and one of my brothers had died. So I went to the funeral, and I was amazed to meet my family for the first time, really, as adults there. And I got to know them. They're really wonderful guys and gal, but they were raised in a whole different environment than I. They did not have the advantage of an education. Unfortunately, they got into some bad environment. And I realized at the time that had I stayed in the environment that I was in, I would have been a lot like them and not at all like I am today. And I had nothing to do with that. It was just good fortune. And since I've been asked to speak about my life, the thing that just comes to mind now is that over and over again, I've had good fortune. And people think that, oh, look, you've written some books and you're getting an award and all these things, and you must be really somebody special. And I am, in the sense that I've been very lucky in a lot of places along the road. Things have just happened that pushed me in the right direction. I went to school thinking that I was going to be an actor or a film producer. I was going to go to Hollywood and do the great theatrical production. I started off as a child actor. Yeah. In high school, actually junior high school, in Detroit. The Detroit school system had a radio station they were opening up, and they wanted to teach children, little kids like myself, how to use a microphone and go on to radio and show us what it was like. This was back in the day of radio, okay? Television hadn't been invented really yet. So radio was it. So I thought that was a grand idea. I went on the bus and I went down to that Saturday class where they were going to teach us all how to use a microphone and read a script and that kind of thing. So when I got down there on Saturday morning, it was a studio about maybe half the size of this room. It was a big room and had control rooms at this end and microphone and some chairs. And it was packed. It was standing room only. I don't know, probably 300 or 400 kids. And I was standing in the back. And I could see over the tops of the heads that they had a microphone, and they said, now you stand here and you turn the script in, and the length of the script from your lips to the microphone was the proper distance, da-da-da-da-da. So I thought, gee, I'd been to school. I learned how to be on the radio. So that was the end of lesson one. The next Saturday I came back, and the crowd was about half as big. And they taught us a little bit more. And the next Saturday I came back, and it was half as big again. And finally, a few months later, there were 6 of us left. And because nobody else had the stamina to stick with it, it got to be kind of boring. We wanted the action. We wanted to be on the radio. We wanted to be superstars. And we were learning how to speak into a microphone, you know? And so finally, we weeded down to 6. And first thing you know, we got calls, the 6 of us, to be on radio programs in Detroit. Anytime a commercial station needed some little kid to say something, well, who do they go to? They go to the school system, and they get the 3 little brats that survived from this crowd of kids. And I was one of them. So in those days, I got to be on the Lone Ranger, that radio program. If you ever heard a little kid say, gee, Dad, here come the Indians, it was probably me. I was on the Hermit's Cave and Green Hornet. The Hermit's Cave was you probably never heard it. It was Detroit only. Starts off with ghost stories, weird stories, and murders too. Turn out the lights. Turn them out. Ah. And then the wolves would come out in the background. And You know, I was on these programs, and it was just wonderful, wonderful experience. I got to be a teenage master of ceremonies when I finally got to senior, and that was a real program. That was a real radio program on CBS, Saturday morning. And, no, excuse me, NBC, CBS, it was CBS. And so I was, hate to tell you, Eddie Griffin, that's what they called me, Eddie Griffin, the teenage master of ceremonies on this morning program where they had the Don Large Youth Chorus and an orchestra, and it was a big extravaganza, and I was scared to death. But I made it. I went to school, and I went to the University of Michigan. I majored in speech and communications. I was a radio announcer at the university station there, WUOM. Very boring job. I just read the script that they gave me. I introduced a lot of classical music. I learned how to pronounce words like Beethoven, you know, things like that. And I learned a lot about classical music, by the way, which I've always been grateful for. And I came out and went into the military. I'm going to move this along. And I'm kind of embarrassed to tell you, but the fact is, I went into the Army, and they told me I was going to be part of a radio advance unit that was going to do propaganda programming into the enemy lines. And they said, because of my experience, I was ideal for that. So I signed up for that. When I got in there, they put me into radar school. Radar school. Well, that's because I knew how to say ohm. I knew the words, ohms. I'd been around radio engineers, and I knew the lingo. So I did well on the test, and they needed radio technicians a lot more than they needed propaganda people in the military. So I got to go to radar school, and they made me an instructor when I got through there. And I'd been on that job for 2 weeks, and I met a colonel on base at Fort Bliss, Texas. Forgotten his name now, but we recognized each other. He had been an agent in Detroit when I was working at WWJ as assistant assistant director in television. That was the first real television station in Detroit, and I was an assistant director, which was a very highfalutin name for the fact that I was really a floor manager. That's what the guy that pulls the cables around and throws the cues to the talent and flips the cards on the stands and all that kind of thing. So I had met this guy as an agent there, and so here I am as a enlisted man walking around the base there at Fort Bliss, and I ran into the colonel. And I salute the colonel. He says, "Hi, Ed, how you doing?" I said, "Well, Bob," or whatever his name was. "Good, how you doing?" And he said, "What are you doing?" I said, I'm teaching radar." He said, No, you can't do that. He said, "I need you." "What are you doing?" He said, "Well, they got me in charge of the what do they call them? The special services there. You know, where all the guys go for crafts and listen to music, and they paint, and they have dances and all the fun stuff. They have wood shop. That was called special services." And he says, "I'm in charge of it here." And he says, "I need some help." So 3 days later, I'm transferred as his assistant. 3 days after that, he gets moved to the swamps of Louisiana, and I'm left the only guy there that knows anything about this. So I ran the special services at Fort Bliss, Texas. That's how I fought the war, I'm sorry to say. And now I'm coming to the point. In that role, I was in charge of putting on USO services or programs for the USO that came through, to entertain the troops. And along comes a guy by the name of Raymond Burr. And you all know who he is, Old Ironsides or whatever that program was called. And at the time, he was just known because he was the heavy for the role he played in Rear Window. So a big Hollywood actor comes through, and he's doing a USO show. And it was my job to put the thing together, to create the stage, get the lights, the microphone, the PA system, put up the banners around the base, get the guys in there to fill the chairs, and get all the props, and do everything that needed to be done to put the show on. Well, the show went on, and after that was all over, Ray Byrne, I went to his, took him back to his hotel, and we stopped in the bar and had a few tips. And the first thing you know, it's like, "Well, what are you going to do when you get out of this man's army?" "Well, I don't know, I'm coming to Hollywood." "Oh, well, come look me up," he says. So gives me his card. About 9 months later, I get out of this man's army, and I go to Hollywood. Naturally, that's where I was going anyway, right? so I could make my big splash in Hollywood. So I get there and I call Ray Burr. I said, Ray, this is Ed Griffin. Long silence. He says, who? Who? Oh, Ed Griffin. Remember we put the USO show on? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. How you doing, Ed? Oh, I'm doing fine. You said when I come out of the Army, I should come give you a call. Well, I'm here in Hollywood. Long pause. Oh. well, let's have lunch. Okay, says I. So I go have lunch with Ray Burr, and he's not interested in me at all. He can't hardly remember me. But here I am in Hollywood. So now I'm also married, and I got a couple of kids, and I'm going through all my savings, and I suddenly realize that there's a lot better talent there in Hollywood than mine, and they're all waiting table and washing cars. And I decided I was going to get a real job. So I went to work for a large insurance company in the group department. I became one of those guys that does rate calculations. I was an underwriter, and I went and provided sales service to the real salesmen that were out there. And we installed insurance programs in companies that had 25 employees or more, and it was my job to design the policy and then present it to the employees and sign them up and maintain the program and all of that. And so that's where I was for about 5 years in Los Angeles. And I thought I was on the way up the corporate ladder. I was in the corporate world now, doing well, and I decided I was going to give this everything I had, and I carefully calculated this. I looked at the insurance companies that were hiring for that, and I found this. It was the Equitable Life, by the way, and it was a big company, but I looked at all their top management, and they were all really old people, you know. I knew they were going to be retiring real soon, and I looked at the middle management, and they were old too, and they were going to be retiring real soon. So I figured, well, here I am, young, and I'm going to go in and do a great job and do everything so that when these guys retire, there's going to be a huge void there, and who's going to get pulled up, become a vice president and all that. I was going to volunteer for the job. So that's where I was when I discovered the real world. I discovered the real world was not all like I thought it was. I found out there were illusions out there. I might just talk briefly before I close this off about the greatest illusions that were popularized by the sci-fi movie The Matrix. You know, the red pill, take the red pill and break out of the Matrix. I found I was living in the Matrix. And I decided then that I couldn't just climb the corporate ladder because there would be no wonderful world there for me anyway, even if I got to be a vice president or a president or something like that. I don't care how many limousines were going to be at my fingertips. I was going to be living in a world that I didn't like, a world that had no freedom, had no dignity for the individual, had no privacy. I was afraid that everything that we had we're going to lose it. So I did a very logical thing. The ladies will tell you this was the logical thing to do. My wife thought it was very logical. I quit my job. I thought she was going to kill me. She could not understand why I would quit a job like that and go become a crusader. But I don't know either, frankly, but I had to do it. So I did it, and I started to produce little documentary films, little shoestring-type films with the money I had. And I was giving a lot of speeches. I developed a very fine speech, I thought, on the United Nations. It was one of my topics. This was at a time, remember, when everybody thought that the UN was just wonderful, and if you had anything to say negative about it, you were not a very popular person. Because we were taught in school that the UN was our last best hope for peace. And here I was saying just the opposite. So I was giving a lot of speeches, and I was trying to save the world, and I became very, very ill. I became paralyzed one day, and I had 2 diagnoses. Here we're coming to one of these big events again. Two diagnoses by neurologists, and both of them were that I had multiple sclerosis. I didn't know for sure what that was until I looked it up then in the book, and I decided that was about the last thing that I wanted to have. So I was really quite morbid. I thought this was the end of it, and I was in my late 20s at this time, 29, I think, something like that, or maybe 30, around in there. I had a family to support, and I was very upset about it. And I remember looking out my window. I have to tell you this because there is a bright side to it. I remember lying in my bed, hardly able to move, looking out the window, looking at a little tree. The trunk of it was about the size of my thumb. I had just planted it a few days earlier, still had the stake tied to it. And looking at that tree, and I remember thinking to myself, oh, little tree, I'll never see you grow to a big tree again. You know, I was really going through the whole number, as you can imagine. Well, to make a long story a little shorter, the diagnosis was wrong, as you can see. And what it was is I just burned myself out neurologically and biologically. I was eating all the wrong foods, not eating the good foods. I was smoking, I was drinking, I was not sleeping, I was carrying the world on my shoulders, and I was under a great deal of anxiety, and my system just shut down, that's all. I realize it now. But then there I was lying on my back, thinking that I had maybe a year, maybe 2 years left, and it wasn't going to be good. And I got a call from a publisher, and he said, Ed, you're an expert on the United Nations. You've been giving these speeches. We need you to write a book for us. Well, up until that moment of my life, I was sure I could not write. I was a speaker. I was a film producer. I had never written anything, and I was all ready to tell him that, but I found myself saying, oh, no problem. It was money. It was money coming in to write a book. So I accepted the assignment, half convinced I was going to fail, but I was going to give it my best shot. Well, I gathered all of the research. I read everything, made notes. I took probably 6 months just to research this thing. I'd already done a lot of it. But now I came to the day when it was time to stop the researching and start to write. Well, you've heard about writer's block. I had it in spades. I was staring at a piece of paper. I'm like this for like hour and 2 hours. And I said, this is ridiculous. Just write something. You can tear it up later. So I started to write. And by the time I got to page 3, I was doing this. And I got to page 6, I'm going like this. I discovered I could write. I didn't know it. And if it hadn't been for this false diagnosis as in the end of the world for me, I wouldn't be here today. And I enjoy writing. I think I do pretty good. And I'm glad a lot of other people think so too. I wouldn't be here for that either. So it's another example of one of the most horrible things you can imagine, facing a terrible, end of your life scenario and being convinced it was real, and then waking up. And I went out later, 10 years later, and I patted that tree on its fanny. By this time, it's a big tree. I used to pat that tree a lot as I went by it. But it's a great lesson for me, and I'd like to just, if you remember nothing else from what I'm telling you, be thankful for the bad things that happen in your life, because chances are they're going to, if you do the right thing, and if you have a lot of luck besides, but if you prepare, then luck and preparation come together, and that's really good fortune. Well, okay, that's about it. I discovered the field of health when a friend of mine, Dr. John Richardson, got into trouble because he was treating cancer patients with an unapproved cancer therapy. Most of you know this story, so I'll make this very brief just for those who don't know it. He was an MD in San Francisco area, and he called me to help him write an article explaining why he was using an alternative unproven cancer therapy. It was called Laetrile. So I volunteered to help him write it. I thought he would just, give me a few hours of his time, and I could take notes and then reword what he told me and write the article. But it turned out to be about a 4 or 5 year research project in which I learned things that I never dreamed existed out there. I learned, another case, I learned that the illusion in which I was living was not real, the illusion that the medical profession was here to help us. What an illusion that was. And so that led me to discover this whole world of health and nutrition and the world of non-drugs. I guess is the best way I can think of saying it now. Health without drugs, without pharmaceutical assistance, quote unquote. If I hadn't learned that, I'm sure I wouldn't be here either. I'm 86 years old, and I feel like I'm about not a day older, 85. No, that's not true. I feel sometimes like I'm 26 or something. I know I'm not, because I can't get around like I used to. But I feel that way. I still think all of these things I want to accomplish, all the things I want to do. And I know I wouldn't be in that frame of mind or in that position had I not discovered that the world of health does not come, good health does not come out of a test tube. And so there was another thing I learned along the way, and it just sort of compounded. I just went along being pushed by good fortune and good friends and good opportunities and a lot of hard work, and I'm just as grateful as I can be. I'm grateful to Ty and Charlene for inviting me. I'm grateful for you folks to come out and be here, and I thank you all from the bottom of my heart. Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you, Ed. That was really inspiring. And you know, the thing that I was impressed with was just listening to the way that different things came up in your life, and you kind of turned lemons into lemonade. And I think we can do that. And a lot of the things that you shared, I didn't even know had happened to you. So really interesting. Thanks for sharing that, Ed. And we are just so thankful for you to be here. And you definitely deserve this Lifetime Achievement Award. So let's give Ed Griffin one more round of applause, everyone. So now we are going to, every year we donate some money to different charities. One of the things about Truth About Cancer, about the Truth About Vaccines, which we formed this last year. We released a documentary on vaccines. And also with organics, with our supplement companies, we are always trying to give back. And so what we want, charity, and then Tabba Fish. You want to come up here, sweetie? That's my affectionate name for Tabitha, because she's a good swimmer, so she's a fish. All right, so what we're going to do first is we're going to give the donations from TTAC. So we've got 5 checks I think we're giving today. So what we'll do is we're going to call you up here, and we'll just get everyone in a line, and we'll give you the checks, and then we'll get some.
The ICRF, can you come on up here?
Yeah, ICRF. That would be Reggie. Sensei.
Bow
to your sensei. Okay. You want to get the next one, Tabba?
Give that to him.
Yeah. No, for sure. Yeah, I was going to ask you to come on.
Healing Strong.
Who's next?
Cancer Crackdown.
Cancer Crackdown.
Tara and Steve Mann.
Tabba, you got the next one, sweetie?
This one is the Nicholas Gonzalez Foundation. Paws
Okay.
for Change.
Now, this last one, this Pause for Change, this is from the Truth About Cancer, but this is, we're presenting this to Rodney Habib. This is his cancer or his pet charity that helps pets to fight cancer and just to be healthy. And this is a donation that we're giving out of the recent, we launched the Truth About Pet Cancer, if you probably saw that a couple months ago. So we had promised to donate some money to Pause for Change, and so we're donating this to Pause for Change as well. So if you could, let's just all get in a line here. I'm going to get on the end here with Mary Beth. And let's just
go out here.
come down here, sweetie. All right. If we could get a couple of shots, Caitlin, and then, yeah, it's a lot of people here. All right, let's give them a hand, because these are the charities that are doing the real research and are they're doing the research into how to beat cancer naturally, and they're supporting cancer patients, and they're giving them information, and they're helping them to have a group of people that they can connect to and a support system. And so these are the real charities that we talk about when we're talking in the global quest or in the truth about pet cancer. We talk about we want to support real cancer charities. These are the real cancer charities that are out there that have their feet on the ground every day helping to give cancer patients real options.
Yeah, like what Edward Griffin said, that when he woke up and realized that conventional medicine was really harmful, it was not helpful. Health does not come out of a bottle of pharmaceutical pills. So it is our honor to be associated with you and to get to support you and to pray for you and to refer people to you. And out of the money that we're blessed to receive from people that support us, to support you. And it is because of you and others around the world like you that people really are being networked to be able to treat successfully cancer and live and be cancer free. So thank you, everybody.
Okay, cool. Okay, yeah, thanks everyone. So if y'all can grab a seat, and we got a couple of more donations here that we wanted to talk about. We did launch the Truth About Vaccines this year, and I don't know who saw the Truth About Vaccines. We have several of the stars that are here that were in the Truth About Vaccines. I see
Yeah.
Dell and Big Tree, Rasha Buttar here, both were in it, and I'm sure that we have other people here, but a couple of the charities that we want to donate to now, this comes from our other company called TTAV Global, and so that's the Truth About Vaccines. So this is money that we wanted to donate to two charities specifically, and so who do you have there, charity? This is the CMSRI, so Claire, if you'd come up here. Then the CMSRI. Claire, what does CMSRI stand for?
Children's Medical Safety Research Institute.
Okay, and give me like a 30-second synopsis of what you're doing with CMSRI.
Sure. And thank you, Ty and Charlene, and your beautiful family. And I also just wanted to thank my husband, Albert, who I couldn't be doing what I'm doing without him. And the Children's Medical Safety Research Institute is funding research on the causal factors underlying the chronic disease and disability epidemic. And about 10 years ago, we held a small conference. Barbara Lowe Fisher from NVIC attended, and a gathering of scientists presented research. And their conclusion was that one of the most needed areas of research was on aluminum toxicity. And we've since been funding research that really the FDA should have funded when they were doing clinical trials on vaccines and never did. And we're doing the research the way it should have been done, independent, without conflicts of interest, high quality, methodologically sound, and we are making major discoveries. We just had a study published this week on aluminum in the brains of individuals who had died, who had been diagnosed with autism. And the sad truth was that they had as high amounts of aluminum in their brains as people who were dying of Alzheimer's disease. We also fund on autoimmune disease and many other conditions. So anyway, Ty, thank you, and Charlene, thank you for recognizing CMSRI and for this very generous check.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And so, and then the other charity that we wanted to donate to from the Truth About Vaccines is the NVIC, the National Vaccine Information Center. Barbara Lowe Fisher. Barbara was one of the stars of the Truth About Vaccines as well. So there you go. And Barbara, if you could just share.
Sure. Well, first of all, thank you so much, Ty and Charlene, for honoring NVIC in this way. When I joined with other parents in 1982 to found this charity to prevent vaccine injuries and deaths through public education, we had no idea back then that the vaccine safety and informed consent movement we were launching would go global in the 21st century. Unfortunately, today everybody knows somebody who was healthy, got vaccinated, and was never healthy again. And that's why it's so important to make sure that we have informed consent protections in our public health laws. So if you want to protect your right to make vaccine choices in your state, please join with NVIC. We can help you do that. We have not lost one vaccine exemption since 2015 because of the grassroots efforts that have been made by people around this country to protect vaccine exemptions. So please go on our website at nvic.org. We're the oldest and largest website on the internet that talks about preventing vaccine reactions. So thank you so much again.
Thank you.
Okay, yeah, Caitlin, if you could grab a shot of us here. And do not try to cash these checks. They're a little too big.
We'll give you the real one.
At least until the first. We'll give you a real one later. Anyway.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
This is such
All
an
right.
honor. Thank you.
So what we wanted to do is, I wanted to also let you know I think that was the total was about $100,000 that we were able to donate tonight, but from organics from our supplement company, was it over $250,000 of inventory that we've given away to needy families?
Over 250,000.
250,000. So,
It's probably, and we're going to keep doing that. And that's just in the last week.
okay.
So we're going to keep doing it. For every 10 bottles sold, we're going to donate 1 bottle. And so we started that a week ago, 250,000 worth. It'll hit the millions. So
We just wanted to let y'all know that, the purpose, it's all mission driven with us. Of course, you see a lot of our employees, so it's a business as well. We have to be able to generate revenue to pay for our employees and run the business, but it's all mission driven. So from the 3 companies, we want to continue to do that, and we will continue to do that in the future. But we just wanted to kind of you didn't see anything from organics here per se, but a lot of inventory has been given away to needy families that can't afford supplements. So we want to make sure.
And one of our taglines is, "And you shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free." And that's what we get to do every single day. And our team right here is just so amazing, and you're a part of our life in so many different ways. And I like to say, and I'll say it again and again, there's a movie about us. I think you've seen it. It's called The Avengers. Those are actors. That's what we're doing. We really are doing it together. We are changing the world. We're fighting back evil, and we're bringing life back into the mainstream by just simply giving them the truth. And like John said, these products that are helping to save their lives, that we are blessed to be able to create and bring to the world, and have a whole team that helps us, and John and Terry Ann to help us to reach the ends of the earth with these amazing things. So thank you, everybody.
Yeah, thank you.
I usually don't talk, so I'll try not to say too much.
Yeah, this is special for John to talk.
Yeah,
This is special.
Yeah, pretty cool.
But, Ty stands up here and Ty gets a lot of recognition. I appreciate you giving me a lot of recognition, and Terry Ann's amazing. It's really our team that you guys don't see that makes all of this happen. So we get on meetings and we talk about great ideas, but they're the ones that are fulfilling everything. So Petra and Antoine and Gian, I'm not going to go through all the names again, but we couldn't do it without you guys. And I love you. Making a huge difference.
Sure. So last year, if those of you who was in Dallas last year at the live event in Dallas,
The first live event that we had?
the Ultimate Live Symposium. We couldn't call this one the Ultimate or Live Symposium, so we changed the name this year. But the Ultimate Live Symposium in Dallas. So we had an employee there named Lee, and Lee has since passed. And Lee had cancer; he had brain cancer, and we were able to help him obtain the funds to go to see Dr. Tony Jimenez at Hope for Cancer, and he recently passed. And so we just wanted to kind of recognize Lee. He was a great guy, just had a great heart, and he's kind of another victim of the current medical system, I believe, because he was sick, and he went to Dr. Tony and Marcy, and they really helped him. He went back to England to his home, and Terry Ann was telling me the story that his cancer was back. He felt like he was okay to be able to travel back to the States, back to Mexico to be treated again. She talked to him, what was it, on a Friday? You said that he was in good spirits, but he had to get them to sign off on coming back, letting him come home. Terry Ann tried to call him on a Saturday, and they said he was asleep. And then he died on a Sunday, and they basically overdosed him on morphine.
Morphine.
Is what they did. They decided it was time, that there was nothing they could do, and it's very similar to what they did to my father.
That's what I was just going to say.
They
That's
overdosed
exactly
him on
what.
morphine. They told us, okay, he's a few days from death, and this is going to happen.
And we thought it was a cancer, and it wasn't.
We thought this was just the way people die. We'd never seen it before. His heart's going to speed up, and he's going to go into a coma, and he won't wake up. Well, that's what happened, but it wasn't because he died of the cancer. They overdosed him on painkillers.
They cut out his stomach, and he bled to death, starved to death, and was morphine to death. I mean, he was just put to death in 3 different ways very quickly. And we believed that the doctors, we believed that it was the cancer because we were ignorant. Today, we are not ignorant. We know the truth, and the truth that sets us free is now enveloping the earth. And like Jonathan said, we have the best team on planet Earth. And we thank God for each one of you realizing that God himself brought you here together to do exactly what we're doing. And Ty's family did not die in vain, and even Lee did not die in vain. We will continue to do this until God takes us out of this earth.
Yeah, and we wish, yeah. And we wish that Lee were here with us. And unfortunately, that's not going to happen. But we really do. We just want to bring attention to Lee, to honor him. He was such a good guy, and he's going to be sorely missed. I know a lot of the people on the team that worked with Lee on a regular basis really miss him. I didn't get a chance to work with Lee much, but the few times that I did get a chance to hang out with him, he's just always smiling, always chipper and joking around, and just made it a fun place. And so I know that the team misses him a lot, but we just want to take this time to honor Lee, and to let you know that my opinion, he's another victim of the medical mafia.
But with your help,
that took his life.
We hope that with your help, there'll be a lot less Lees and more people at a young age like he was at that will live, because they'll have the truth and they'll have help from a lot of you in this room that are able to help the people.
Yeah, and I just want to say one last thing to leave it on a high note and a hopeful note. Dr. Jimenez shared with me, and also when I spoke to Lee, one of the last 3 times that I spoke to him, he said, I won't do chemo. I won't do it. No matter how many times they push, I won't do chemo and I won't do surgery. And I just want each of you to know in my conversations with him how highly he spoke of all the people who changed his life. And he felt like, because of so many of you in this room, that he had a reason to fight and he had a reason to live. And he lived every day to the fullest, to the very last day. And he fought for what he believed in, and is what we're all fighting for today. And so I'm dedicating this next year for our team, the biggest year we'll have, no doubt, to Lee and his memory, and fighting for those people who fight to the very end. And it was so worth it. And he was an incredible, incredible man. He'll be missed, and this next year is for him and so many people like him who keep fighting for what's right and the truth.
Thank you, Chief. Thanks, John. Thank you. So we've got some entertainment coming your way. Let's see. Coop, you want to come up here, man? Cooper Wade's going to sing some Christmas songs for us. He might get John Wesley Satterfield to come up here and join him for a couple songs. And you don't want to get me to join you, though.
But, honey, you can sing so well.
I did sing, and Austin Krejci, stand up. Austin just turned 22 yesterday. Let's give him a hand. 22.
Happy birthday.
So I called up Austin yesterday, and I sang happy birthday to him. Literally, I sang happy birthday. And
that was his audition for the Koch brothers.
Yeah, so Kyle and Austin here, 2 of the Krejci sons here, and then Johnny Addis is not here with us, but they 3 form Kyle, Austin, Johnny, the KAJ, Koch brothers.
And if you haven't heard them, Google it and watch them. One of my favorites, I think, is their Star Spangled Banner. That is so beautiful. These beautiful young men, they're beautiful in appearance, but they're even more beautiful in their hearts. So I just encourage everybody, if you have not heard them yet, Google it and watch it. They're just awesome.
And after yesterday's audition, I told Austin I was trying out for the Koch brothers. He told me that I'd made it. So I might be up there with them soon.
Go, honey.
But of course, these guys can cut some rug too. They're really good dancers. If I got up and tried to do that, it would become a comedy show.
Yeah, so who was at the live event? Who saw them dance? That was pretty cool. Wasn't that cool? Yeah, those masks. It was funny. They had those silver masks under their chairs, and I said, "What is that?" And they were like, "I can't tell you. I'd have to kill you."
All right, some Improv Christmas. I know you guys know every Christmas song ever because there's only 40 of them. You've heard them your whole lives, so sing along with us. Sure. The snow in one horse open sleigh, o'er the fields we go, laughing all the way.
Wait a minute, hold on. I do a lot of stuff at like retirement homes and old folks homes, and this is not one of those, okay? I think Ed over there is the oldest guy here in the house, right? Can I get an amen, Ed? He was about to jump out of his seat and dance over there a minute ago. Y'all didn't see it, okay? So I expect a little more from the rest of you, okay? Laughing all the way, ha, ha, ha. Okay, let's see if we can get this right, okay? Come on, folks. Here we go.
Dashing through the snow in a horse open sleigh, o'er the fields we go, laughing all the way. Bells on bobtails ring, making spirits bright. What fun it is to laugh and sing a sleighing song tonight. Oh, jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride on one horse open sleigh. Hey! Jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one horse open sleigh. In a one horse open sleigh, o'er the fields we go, laughing all the way. Bells on bobtails ring, making spirits bright. What fun it is to ride and sing a sleighing song tonight. Oh, jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. Jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh.
Does everybody know Rudolph, the red-nosed reindeer? I think we should all kind of channel our inner 8-year-old. Now, my wife will tell you I do that daily. I fit in well with the 4 kids in our house because I'm just another kid. At 45 years old, he's shaking his head back there like, I feel you, bro, I feel you. He knows. And that'll never change, hopefully. My wife may want it to change, but I'm just a Toys R Us kid. I'll never grow up, right? So we're going to sing Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, and again, don't make me stop the song and come out there because I will. I expect you all to channel your inner 8-year-old. And for some of you, that's actually acting older than you act most of the time. So we're going to do Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, and I expect you to have a good time. This is not a Baptist event. You can dance if you want to. So let's do that together, right? You're Dasher and Dancer and Prancer and Vixen, Comet and Cupid and Donner and Blitzen. But do you recall the most famous reindeer of all? Here we go.
Rudolph the red-nosed reindeer had a very shiny nose, and if you ever saw him, you would even say it close. All of the other reindeer used to laugh and call him names. They never let poor Rudolph join in any reindeer games. Then one foggy Christmas Eve, Santa came to say, Rudolph, with your nose so bright, won't you guide my sleigh tonight? Then all the reindeer loved him as they shouted out with glee, Rudolph the red-nosed come, let us adore him. Oh, come, let us adore dear Christ the Lord. Come, let us adore him. Oh, come, let us adore him. Oh, come, let us adore him, Christ the Lord.
About Silent Night? Sit down together. Here we go. 1, 2.
Silent night, holy night, all is calm, all is bright, round yon virgin mother and child, holy infant, so tender and mild. Sleep in heavenly peace. Sleep in heavenly peace. Silent night, holy night. Shepherds quake at the sight. Glory streams from heaven above. Heavenly hosts sing hallelujah. Christ our Savior is born. Christ our Savior is born. Silent night, holy night, Son of God, love's pure light, radiant beams from thy holy face, with the dawn of redeeming grace. Jesus, Lord, at thy birth. Jesus, Lord, at thy birth. Away in a manger, the crib for a bed. The little Lord Jesus laid down his sweet head. The stars in the sky looked down where he lay. The little Lord Jesus asleep on the hay. The cattle are lowing, the baby awakes. The little Lord Jesus, no crying he makes. I love thee, Lord Jesus, look down from the sky and stay by my cradle till morning is nigh. Be near me, Lord Jesus, I ask thee to stay close by me forever and love me, I pray. Bless all the dear children in thy tender care.
And thanks to the Koch brothers, to Cooper Wade, to John Wesley Satterfield for the
Yeah,
singing.
great
That was
music.
great.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much.